Greetings from Temecula, California. My greetings to you. It is Monday. And not just any Monday. Oh no. This is the first official day of fall. Or autumn. If you're one of those latte drinking folks who likes to correct everybody at Starbucks. You know what I'm talking about. It's not fall, Ryder. It's autumn. Well, let me tell you something. Leaves don't care what you call it. They're still going to hit your yard. And you're still going to be the one with the rake. Now, I'll tell you a little story. Growing up, the first day of fall meant two things. Cooler weather and my dad reminding me, son, don't forget winter's next. Thanks, Dad. Always knew how to cheer up the room. But really, fall is football season. It is WNBA playoff season. It is, dare I say it, the meat and potatoes of the American sports calendar, and we are loaded today, folks. Here's the lineup. We got our NFL insider, Albert Lanier, joining us. Week 3 in the books, and oh boy, plenty to chew on there. We'll dive into the brand new AP poll in college football, plus our own mock bracket. You're not going to want to miss that. The WNBA gave us Sunday high drama with a second round playoff action tipping off. Then the bombshell announcement from Bruce Pearl, rocking the world of college basketball, shockwaves everywhere. So buckle in, pour yourself that pumpkin spice. Yes, I said it. Don't worry, nobody's judging you. And let's make this Monday something more than just the start of another week. Again, welcome. This is the Ryder Report. I am Ryder Bullock. We start today with the NFL, a killer blow for the 49ers. Nick Bosa, torn ACL. He's done for the year. This is not speculation. This is fact. The tests came back. ACL is gone. Season over. Same guy who missed 2020 with an ACL in the other knee. You can't make it up. Now, let's be real. This guy is a star. Defensive Player of the Year in 2022. 18.5 sacks. Dominant since the day he walked into the league. 74.5 sacks. Fourth most in the NFL since 2019. He's the engine of that defense. He's not just good. He's elite. And for San Francisco, this is a devastating loss. You got George Kittle already on IR. Purdy's been banged up. Jennings is hurt. They've been patching it together at 3-0, but losing Bosa changes the whole competition and complexion of the season. This defense was built around him. Now you're looking at rookies like Williams and Collins and C.J. West. Nice prospects, but they're not Nick Bosa. Veterans like Bryce Huff, they'll have to step in. But again, they're the role guys. And let's be honest, folks, when Bosa goes down, the Niners' margin shrinks. He's the guy who commands the double teams, who frees up everyone else, who makes quarterbacks uncomfortable. Without him, this defense is ordinary. That's the truth. The Niners are a proud team. They've overcome injuries before, but this one's different. This is the cornerstone of the franchise on defense. And remember, ACL twice now. Both knees before age 30. That's a huge red flag for durability going forward. So yeah, they're 3-0, but let's not kid ourselves. Without Nick Bosa, San Francisco's Super Bowl path just got a whole lot harder. Word for Sunday, however, was backups, and they didn't just hold the fort, they stole the show. Carson Wentz, remember him? The one who's been on more teams than most people have fantasy leagues. He steps in for J.J. McCarthy. And in his first start with Minnesota, he looked like the guy who almost won MVP back in 2017. 14 of 20. 173 yards, 2 touchdowns. And most importantly, no mistakes. Vikings roll Cincinnati 48-10, and Wentz posts the second best passer rating of his career. Childhood dream, playing for his favorite team and living it up. And Kevin O'Connell's offense, Justin Jefferson got his touches. The tighter ends got their scores, and Wentz just played point guard. He said it himself, I don't want to be the playmaker. I want to get it to the playmakers. That'll work. Marcus Mariota, remember him? He hadn't started a game since 2022, but Sunday he looked like he'd been running Cliff Kingsbury's system forever. 15 of 21, 207 and a touchdown through the air, 40 and a score on the ground. Commanders take out the Raiders 41-24. Only blemish a fumble early, and delivering a bloody nose to his head coach in a sideline collision. But otherwise, Mariota was sharp, efficient, the confident, and clearly comfortable. Then there's Mac Jones, not the starter in San Francisco, just filling in for Brock Purdy, but he was gutsy. 27 completions, 284 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. And despite a brutal interception in the fourth quarter and a safety that nearly doomed the Niners, he comes back on one good knee and leads a 63-yard drive to set up the game winner. That's resilience. That's the kind of moment coaches love because it tells you something about the guy. Tyrod Taylor, a bit of a mixed bag. A pick six, sure, but also nearly pulled off the upset against Tampa Bay. Jets had the Bucs on the ropes before Baker Mayfield did Baker Mayfield things. Another comeback, another win. And while we're on the subject of second chances, Daniel Jones isn't technically a backup, but he's still the best story of the bunch. Sent packing by the Giants, lands in Indy, and all he's done is put the Colts at 3-0 for the first time since 2009. 3 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, no turnovers in these games. Nobody's done that in the NFL history. Feels like it's the latest example in a growing trend. Quarterbacks finding life after their first stop. Mayfield, Darnold, Goff, Geno, and now Jones in Indy. And with that, let's talk Week 3 hot topics. Joining me today is Albert Lanier. Albert's a retired journalist and a freelancer. You might remember his podcast Outside the NFL, which you can still find on Spotify, and Substack. These days he's enjoying the game more as a fan, though he's still writing podcasts and producing 2 outstanding film newsletters, Final Cut and Retro Review on Substack. Albert's here to break down the season so far and where things stand heading into the heart of 2025. Albert, great to have you here. Let's start with, what do you make of Week 3?
Well, the interesting thing about Week 3 and I'd say the season thus far, but the thing about Week 3 is everyone's talking about how there were so many games that came down to kind of the final, minute. Certainly the final the end of the fourth quarter. And one of the things I want to stress is that every week thus far, there has been at least a great game. Week 1, you had the Bills-Ravens. Fantastic game. Bills came back and beat the Ravens, although the Ravens were winning that game. Week 2, you had Dallas and Giants. Went to overtime. Dallas, multiple opportunities tried to score in that overtime, and they end up getting the winning field goal and winning that. And I guess I would have to say this week you have the Rams-Eagles game, primarily because of the 2 blocked field goals and, of course, the run back at the end, right? In terms of Week 3 itself, one of the things I think is fair to do, one of the things I like to do when I did Outside the NFL, I like to wait until about Week 3 or 4 to start doing assessments of teams. So if I had to go and start doing assessments right about now, the Buccaneers are a team that you got to look out for.
Really?
I don't know if they can sustain these very close victories, including one that they had against the Jets. Another terrific game, especially at the end. I don't know if they can do that. But I can tell you that Baker Mayfield is playing not simply like an MVP candidate, but he's playing like somebody who could make it to the Super Bowl. Again, I think the Buccaneers are a team you got to look out for. I think what they need at this point is to find a way to get a win that's more than 3 points, to get a win that's 7 points or 10 points.
Absolutely.
That's what I think they need right now. That's a big deal. And I also want to talk about the Colts a little and say with the Colts, people are, of course, surprised about the Colts. They got Daniel Jones. He's playing great. This team looks great. Surprised with the Colts. I felt that they could have a good year. The surprise is how well they're playing. Not that they're having a good year, how well they're playing. If you look at the second game, I hate to sound biased here, I'm going to be biased. I'm not a fan of the Denver Broncos.
Okay.
I don't like them.
That's fair.
Then again, I'm a fan of 3 teams, and one of those teams is the Las Vegas Raiders.
Okay.
So that's a reason why I don't like the Broncos.
Gotcha.
But the Broncos had the game. They won the game against the Colts, and with the stupid penalty, gave the game to the Colts. And the Broncos themselves had a close game against the Chargers, and they lost that game. But the Colts are a team that seem to be able to not only get effective play out of their quarterback with Daniel Jones, they're getting effective running. Their offensive line is able to hold up. One of the things that I think I said, what do you mean I think I said? I said on Outside the NFL last year when I did the show was my theory when it comes to the NFL is, and what I've always stressed is, that the NFL is fundamentally about offensive line. The key to success in the NFL is the offensive line. It's not the defensive line. It's not your special teams. It's not even really the quarterback. It's the offensive line. And you see that this week. You saw it with the Raiders-Commanders game. Geno Smith got harassed a great deal by Washington. That offensive line for the Raiders is doing a terrible job, just like they did last year. And the offensive line has to hold up. The key to the NFL, the key to teams, the key to success is the offensive line. For the Chargers, that seems to be happening. It seems to be the offensive line is holding up thus far. And I think also for the Buccaneers, it's going to have to hold up too, any of these teams. But that's some of what I saw, to mention a couple of these teams. The Colts, everyone's talking about them. Oh, they're impressive. Yes, they're impressive. I actually think they had the potential to be a good team. They're just playing extremely well. And I think the Buccaneers are a team to look out for. But I just wanted to mention those two.
Okay, perfect. Let's you broke it up. Let's talk about Eagles for just a minute. The Eagles look strong so far. Who do you see as their biggest competition for supremacy in the NFC?
Well, I think they played it. The Rams are one of their biggest competitors. Okay. I would say probably the Packers.
Okay.
Packers didn't have a good week, but you would have to say the Green Bay Packers.
Okay.
Because what the Packers have are a great defense. But I also have to say the Rams because of, the Rams lost to the Eagles last year, and they lost in this game just this past Sunday. I think you have to look at the Rams and the Packers primarily in the NFC. I'd like to say the Dallas Cowboys because I am technically a fan. Like I said, I'm a fan of 3 teams, and that's one of the teams I'm a fan of. But Dallas's defense is horrendous, and they're going to have to find a way to at least get some remedies there. I would say the Rams. And I would say the Packers primarily in regards to the Eagles.
Okay. We on the flip side, we have teams that are still searching for the first win of the year. Who is the best of the winless right now?
question. That's a question I don't see heard in, I guess, the professional pundit world of sports and of the sort of the best of the worst. You know,
Is it the Jets?
I think so.
Okay.
Some people would say, the Texans.
Yeah.
And some might even be generous and say the Titans. And I think it's because of Cam Ward. But I think you have to look at the Jets. Here's the thing you have to keep in mind about the New York Jets. They lost a really close game to the Buccaneers. They almost pulled that game off. You look at that run back, and I happen to like the little dance that the coach did. That's a little aside there thrown out. I've never seen a coach move like that. But the Jets did what they could to win that game nearly at the end. And then the Buccaneers came and did what they normally do, or what they have done this season, and head down the field and end up getting the W. The Jets have played two really good games. They played a very good game against the Steelers, and they played a good game against the Buccaneers. This isn't a bad team. I think it's one of those teams that you have to go and say they got some bad breaks, and you kind of have to give them a little sympathy. You don't have to. You don't have to give sympathy to anybody in the NFL, but I'd say the Jets, they're a team that are close to being good. They got an 0-3 record, but they're not an 0-3 team. They're actually playing more like, I'd say, a 2-1 team, except they're 0-3.
You mentioned the Colts. Daniel Jones. The Colts are getting the most out of him in a way that the Giants never could. What are the Colts doing right in Indianapolis that New York wasn't able to figure out?
Probably offensive line.
Okay. That's what I said last week.
It has to be offensive line, number one. Probably when you look at quarterbacks, one of the things you have to look at, and I would say this with Justin Herbert with the Chargers too, you have to look at how many attempts are they making within a game. Are they having to be an Andrew Luck? Meaning, are they a person that has to do 50 attempts per game? So you have to look at the level of attempts that they're doing with Daniel Jones. You also have to look at the run game, right? I think it's Jonathan Taylor. He's having a pretty good year. You also have to look at how the defense is holding up for the Colts. You look at that game with Miami. The defense of the Colts really stuck it to the Miami Dolphins. That doesn't necessarily mean that the production and the performance of the quarterback is going to be automatically impacted by the defense. But it gives some kind of psychological help to the quarterback if he knows that he has a defense that's able to get some turnovers, that's able to kind of get their offense on the field and allow them opportunities to score. And when you look at Daniel Jones, I think the first thing that strikes me is that offensive line. I think you have to look at the run game. I think you also have to look at the fact that they seem to be satisfied with him in the QB position, maybe. You also have to see maybe there aren't a lot of internal problems. One of the big stories last year, of course, was the Jets. Speaking of the Jets.
Yeah.
And they were let's just say they were the garbage show.
Yeah.
The garbage show of the NFL last year. They were the garbage show. Everybody normally talks about Dallas and what's happening in Jerry World and
But he likes that.
And the world of Blunderland, as I call it.
Yeah. But he likes that. Jerry loves all that.
Well, that's part of what I don't know if I should say this because I'm technically I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. And like I said, I'm a fan of three teams. I'm probably going to get in trouble if I say, well, trouble, I'm retired. I'm not going to get in trouble. But here's my theory about Jerry. I don't think he cares about winning Super Bowls anymore. I really don't think he does. he had 3 Super Bowls coming in as an owner. When in the early years of ownership, he got 3 Super Bowl rings, right? And I think for him, it's really about building his legacy there with the Dallas Cowboys, his business legacy there, with that stadium and all the other adjoining facilities, and all the other business aspects, the merchandise and all the other things that NFL owners of teams make money on. And the reality is, I'm not saying that Jerry wouldn't want to go to the Super Bowl and be successful if he does. I don't think he needs to go to a Super Bowl. And I don't think the Dallas Cowboy fans, I understand because I've been a fan for a long time. I get it. A lot of the fans get it.
Okay. That's a fair answer.
I don't know what reaction this is going to get. But I wasn't looking to create controversy. I know there are people who go on sports shows and do this. I'm new to the sports show world in that regard, but I'm convinced Jerry doesn't care about going to a Super Bowl.
That's fair.
I don't think he does.
Yeah. Final question. We have some breaking news. Lions just defeated the Ravens 38-30. Jared Goff, his stats are 20 of 28, 202 yards, 1 touchdown. David Montgomery had 2. Jamar Gibbs had 2. Your thoughts on this Lions team?
First of all, I'm happy because that means I got a great week this week.
Yeah.
In terms of my picks.
Oh, good.
So on that level, because I just kind of make picks to make picks, it's force of habit. Let's see. So week 1, I was 14-2. So I had a very good week 1. Week 2, I was 13-3. I think this week I'm going to be over 10 games. So I'll be 10, 11 games. I'm not surprised. The Lions had a very tough game against the Packers, and this is why on social media, because although Outside the NFL is no longer a podcast, it is a column. I believe it's in my Blue Sky, which I think is Ryder Albert Lanier, and people can go and look me up there. And I think what I was saying, I think in my column or what I felt in regards to the Lions or the Packers was, the Packers has their defense in 2 games did kind of the basics. And I call them scary because they slowed down teams. And the Lions are one of the teams they slowed down. That offense was slowed down. Of course, the second week, they went and destroyed. But this is an important game for them because they're getting back to the winning ways. They had a kind of outlier game against the Packers, but they seem to be getting back to their winning ways right now. And the question for the Lions is going to be this. The reason why they weren't able to go very far last year was they had a lot of defensive injuries. How healthy can they be this season? How healthy? Because if they can remain healthy and their defense gets effective, scoring like they did in that game, in the second game against Chicago. But if their defense gets healthy and they're able to make stops and they're able to kind of win defensively, it's going to be interesting to see if they can win in the postseason. Last year, they didn't win because I felt because of their defense. They had major defensive injuries.
Okay. Always great insight, Albert. Love hearing what you have to say, and you've been so informative these past few years to all of us. So thank you. Looking forward to having you back. We need to start. This needs to be a Monday thing. You need to be a Monday regular.
Yeah, hopefully I'll try. I'll try to be here on Mondays.
Okay.
I'll make an effort.
Okay, we'll make an effort. Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much again, and we're gonna switch from the NFL to college football and check in with Albert next week. See you.
See you.
From the NFL to college football, the new AP poll is out, and folks, we got movement, big movement. Miami, yes, the Hurricanes have jumped LSU and Penn State. They are now the number 2 team in the country behind Ohio State, and let me tell you, they earned it. They beat 2 ranked teams. They just smoked Florida at home by 19 points. They look like the Miami of old. First time they've been this high since 2017. Now, Penn State idle, didn't play. They dropped to 3 in LSU, even though they won. All right, against southeastern Louisiana, not exactly Alabama. They dropped to 4. That's what happens when you schedule cupcakes. The voters aren't impressed. Georgia stays at 5, Oregon at 6, Oklahoma, and I've been waiting for this. Finally cracks back into the top 10. Beat Auburn, looked good doing it. They're 7. Florida State, A&M, Texas, around the top 10. Ohio State's still number 1. They had the week off, got 52 of 66 first-place votes. Miami picks up 7 first-place votes. That's a big jump. Penn State gets 5. And, here's the shocker. Oklahoma got 1, but an even bigger shocker is Indiana. Now, they played some nobodies in the first few weeks. Indiana State, Kennesaw State, Old Dominion, and and now they're in Big Ten league here, and they just obliterated Illinois 63-10, move up 8 spots to number 11. That's the biggest jump of the week. Texas Tech also moves up number 12 now after taking Utah apart. And remember, they did it with their backup quarterback in the second half. That's impressive. TCU sneaks back into the poll. Number 24, BYU back into 25. Auburn, Utah, they're gone. Now let's look ahead, because this week you've got some big ones. LSU at Ole Miss, they've split the last 4. Oregon goes to Penn State, rematch of the Big Ten title game last year that Oregon won, this time in Happy Valley, whiteout Saturday night. Alabama at Georgia, listen, that's a heavyweight fight. Georgia hasn't lost at home in 33 games. Alabama's beaten them 9 of the last 10. And USC, Illinois, you got the Trojans scoring 52 a game. Illinois is coming off a complete embarrassment at Indiana. And so, you've got Penn State and LSU both got dinged without really losing, but that's the way the poll works. And Oklahoma, don't look now, but the Sooners, they are lurking. So you spin it forward, and if we take this week's AP poll and build the 12-team playoff bracket, here is what it looks like. And it's interesting because you got some spice here, folks. Your top 4 seeds, they're the same names as last week, just shuffled. Ohio State, Miami, Penn State, LSU. Those 4 get the buys. Now, the first round matchups, these are on campus, remember. And the high seed can pick, or the higher seed can pick a neutral site. But 9 times out of 10, they're at campus. First up, you have number 9, Texas A&M, going to Tallahassee to play number 8, Florida State. The winner gets Ohio State. That's a dangerous game for A&M. Then this one's wild. Number 12, South Florida, the group of 5 team. They draw Georgia, the 5 seed. That's basically a free pass for Georgia, and then they'd get LSU waiting. Now here's the headliner, the Red River Rivalry, Part 2. We'd have number 10, Texas, going to Norman to play number 7, Oklahoma. Winner would get Miami. You talk about ratings. Folks, that is a monster. And finally, number 11, Texas Tech. They've climbed into this thing at number 6, Oregon. Winner plays Penn State. So that's your bracket. And notice Oklahoma's in for the first time this season. That makes 5 SEC teams in the field. Big 10 gets 3. ACC gets 2, Big 12 gets 1, American Conference gets 1 as well. South Florida sneaks in because of the auto bid. And here's the kicker. Indiana's the 11th ranked team in the country, but they don't get in. Why? Because Texas Tech and South Florida both get in as champions. So that's the quirk of the format. You can be 11 and still be out. The schedule: first round, December 19th and 20th. Quarterfinals, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Semis, January 8th and 9th. And the national championship, January 19th at Hard Rock Stadium, Miami Gardens, Florida. Fitting, considering Miami's sitting there at number 2. So you'd have a Red River rematch. You'd have a Georgia set up for a run. And you'd have Ohio State sitting there with a path that goes through the winner of Florida State A&M. This bracket would deliver some serious fireworks. And yesterday, the second round of the WNBA playoffs gave us some fireworks. We start in Las Vegas. The Aces saw their home dominance come to a halt in Game 1. Kelsey Mitchell, she came to play. The veteran guard poured in a playoff career-high 34 points, hitting 4 of 6 from deep. Indiana built a double-digit lead, but Vegas cut it to 3 late in the third, and that's when the Fever made their move. Indiana closed the quarter on an 11-0 run, stretching the lead back to 14. From there, they never looked back. Odyssey Sims added 17. Natasha Howard with a double-double, and Indiana shoots 50% from the field. They win, spoiled Asia Wilson's MVP celebration, her 4th, a WNBA record. But Wilson struggled, just 6 of 22 from the floor for 16 points. Jackie Young led Vegas with 19, but the Fever take Game 1 on the road, 89-73, stealing home court advantage despite being down 6 players to injury. Meanwhile, the top-seeded Minnesota Lynx had to dig deep against Phoenix. Courtney Williams scored a game-high 23 points and added a career-high 5 steals. Kayla McBride poured in 21, including a dagger 3 late to push the lead to 6. Minnesota trailed by 7 at halftime, but looked in pretty good shape defensively after the break. Phoenix managed just 22 second-half points with only 7 in the paint after scoring 42 inside the first half. Naifa Coyer, fresh off finishing second in MVP voting, had 18 points and 9 boards. Cooper led the Mercury with 22, but Minnesota pulls away for the 82-69 win, taking a 1-0 series lead. Now, both semis shift to Game 2 on Tuesday night in Minnesota. The Lynx, 34-10, try to make it a 2-0 lead against the Mercury, 27-17. Minnesota has been tough at home, 20-4 against the West, and averages nearly 10 threes a game. Naifa Coyer continues to lead the way, while Phoenix leans on Alyssa Thomas all-around game and Kalia Cooper scoring punch. Tip-off set for 7:30 Eastern, and then in Vegas, the Aces already find themselves in a must-win. The Aces 30-14 are a 9.5-point favorite against the Fever, 24-20, who stole Game 1 despite missing 6 players to injury. Asia Wilson, the new 4-time MVP, will look to bounce back, while Kelsey Mitchell and the 2023 Rookie of the Year, Aaliyah Boston, try to put Indiana on the brink of the finals. Game 2 tips at 9:30 Eastern. From the W to college basketball, where Bruce Pearl announced that he plans to retire at Auburn after this season. 11 years at Auburn took him to 2 Final Fours. 2 Auburn basketball. Think about that for a second. Auburn, not Kentucky, not Duke, not Kansas, Auburn. And he got him to the Final Four. This year, number 1 overall seed, 32 wins, SEC champs, and then the bow out in the semis to Florida. Tremendous run, tremendous job he did there. Now they're saying Stephen Pearl, his son, is going to step in and take over. We'll see how that plays out. That's never easy following your father, especially one who basically built the program from nothing. But that is the plan right now. Pearl is 65. And look, the man had an incredible career. Went 246 and 125 at Auburn, won the SEC 3 times, 2 SEC tournaments, At Tennessee before that, Sweet 16s and Elite 8. Everywhere he's been, he's won. Of course, he had the scandal lying to the NCAA, show cause penalty, all that. Auburn took a shot on him, and it paid off in spades. Now, here's the other thing. Don't think this is the end of Bruce Pearl. There are already talks. There's been talks for months. Politics. He's been tied to that open Senate seat, Tuberville seat, and he hasn't exactly denied it. He's already been asked. He says he's considering it, thought a great deal about it. So don't be shocked if you see him pop up on the political side real soon. But the bottom line here is Auburn's basketball owes just about everything to Bruce Pearl. He made that program relevant. He made them national. If he's walking away now, he walks away as the greatest coach in the history of that school, and it's not even close. From college to the NBA, and a brutal blow for the Houston Rockets. Fred VanVleet torn ACL offseason workout, and he could miss the entire 2025-26 season. Done before it even starts. Now, this guy has been the heart of that turnaround in Houston. You remember they were a 22-win lottery team. He shows up, they win 41. Year 2, 52 wins, number 2 seed in the West. That's not a coincidence. He gave them professionalism, championship pedigree from Toronto leadership. He felt like a glove from day one. And now he's gone. They gave him a 2-year, $50 million extension in June, player option in 26-27. And you know what? It looked like a great deal at the time, but this changes everything. Stat-wise, 14 points a game last year. Not a big number, his lowest since 2019. But in the playoffs, he jumped to almost 19 a game. He shows up when it matters. He's not the flashiest player. He's not efficient. He shoots under 40% again, but he's tough. He defends. He shoots the three. He organizes the offense. That's a winning player. So now the focus goes to Reed Shepherd, Aaron Holiday, and Amen Thompson. That's nothing. Amen Thompson, a budding star, two-way guy, very talented, but let's be honest. You don't replace VanVleet's impact overnight. And with Houston sitting just $1.25 million under the first apron, they don't have room to go sign someone unless they make a trade. This is the group. And remember, this was a team with real expectations, 52 wins, number 2 seed. They thought they were ready to contend. Without VanVleet, that's a major step back. You can't spin it in any other way. 9-year veteran, champion, leader, ACL gone. And by the way, this isn't some minor injury. You're talking a whole season. At his age, with his style, that's not easy to come back from. This derails the Rockets' momentum completely, changing the outlook in the West. To baseball. Games going on today. We start in Atlanta. And Chris Sale earned his first win against Washington. Ronald Acuna Jr. homered, and the Atlanta Braves beat the Nationals 11-5. The Braves continue their strong run over the final 2 weeks of the season with their 9th straight win, the longest run since 2023. Sale 6-5, allowed 5 runs on 3 hits over 5 innings. It was the second time Sale has allowed 5 earned runs in his 19 starts this season. Jose Suarez pitched the 3 scoreless innings for for his first save. Rookies catcher Drake Baldwin went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs, and the NL Rookie of the Year has an RBI in each of his last 6 games. Acuna reached base 5 times with a home run, 3 walks, and he was hit by a pitch. National starter Mackenzie Gore, 5 of 15, gave up 4 runs on 4 hits in 2 innings. Braves second baseman Ozzie Albies left with a fractured hamate bone in his left hand. He fouled off a pitch in the 3rd inning. While batting, he stayed in for 1 more pitch before walking toward the dugout and being attended to by Atlanta's training staff. Braves shortstop Ha Sung Kim walked on a check swing to load the bases in the 3rd inning. Home plate umpire Dan Ingusna appealed the check swing down the first base umpire Manny Gonzalez, who said Kim did not swing. Nationals interim manager Miguel Carrillo was ejected after arguing the call. The Braves went on to score 5 runs in the inning. Key stat of the day, Sale entered Monday's game with an 0-2 record in 3 games against Washington. There are now just 3 major league teams Sale has not yet beaten in his career: the Marlins, the Cardinals, and the Braves. Nationals left-handed pitcher Andrew Alvarez will face the Braves. Right-handed pitcher Hurston Waldrop on Tuesday. Right now, the Giants are taking on the Cardinals. Cardinals are leading at 6-5, bottom of the 7th. And the Padres are hosting the Brewers. Brewers leading at 3-2, middle of the 7th. Here is what's trending today in the world of sports. Moments ago, the Lions defeated the Ravens 38-30. The Lions sacked Lamar Jackson 7 times and outrushed the Ravens 224 yards to 85. Detroit scored on drives of 98 and 96 yards against Baltimore, a Baltimore front that was without defensive lineman Ndambe Madukbek and showed little ability to handle the Lions physically up front. Up 31-24 at the 2-minute warning, Detroit converted on 4th and 2 from its own 49 when Jared Goff completed a 21-yard pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Then Montgomery raced for a 31-yard touchdown with 1:42 to play, capping a 151-yard night for the running back. Jackson threw his 3rd touchdown pass of the night, a 27-yarder to Mark Andrews with 29 seconds remaining, a failed 2-point conversion, and a failed onside kick later. The Lions could kneel out the clock. Lions moved to 2-1. They have the Browns on Sunday. Meanwhile, the Ravens fall to 1-2. They play the Chiefs on Sunday. In Charlotte today, the Atlantic Coast Conference officially joined its Power Conference peers in expanding to a 9-game football schedule. Commissioner Jim Phillips called the move, quote, overwhelmingly supported, unquote, after what he described as the incredibly intentional discussions. The new so-called 9+1 model ensures at least 10 games against Power 4 opponents, but with the ACC's unique wrinkle, 17 football playing members, some schools will temporarily use an 8+2 model to honor existing non-conference contracts. It is a move designed not to just align with the Big Ten, Big 12, and SEC, but to strengthen both the conference brand and its individual programs in the years ahead. Meanwhile, a former name returns to the international stage, this time with a whistle rather than a basketball. Kara Lawson, the Duke head coach and former Olympic gold medalist, has been named head coach of the U.S. women's national team through the 2028 games in Los Angeles. The appointment, the first major decision by new national team director Sue Bird, puts Lawson in the position to guide the Americans at next year's World Cup in Germany and ultimately at a home Olympics in Los Angeles. Lawson, who won gold as a player in Beijing and later as an assistant, called the opportunity, quote, the best job in sports. In Los Angeles, sobering news for the Chargers. Running back Najee Harris will miss the rest of the season with a torn Achilles. Harris, who had just begun to carve out a larger role in Jim Harbaugh's offense, went down in Sunday's win over Denver. Quarterback Justin Herbert called it too tough to lose a brother like that. For Harris, it is his first major injury after 4 durable 1,000-yard campaigns in Pittsburgh. And in Paris tonight, a crowning moment for a player long considered one of football's talents. Ousmane Dembélé has won the Ballon d'Or, edging Barcelona's teenage phenom Lamine Yamal. Dembélé's season was nothing short of brilliant. 35 goals, 16 assists, and a central role in Paris Saint-Germain's first ever Champions League title. The 28-year-old Frenchman accepted the award from Ronaldo and called the moment incredible, unforgettable. PSG, winners of a domestic treble, now stand at the summit of European football, and Dembélé is at last fulfilling the promise that once made him one of the most expensive signings in the world. Shifting to baseball, and we talk about what is arguably the most fascinating and nerve-wracking, the American League Central race we've seen in decades. This is the most packed. You've got the Detroit Tigers, who looked like the class of the league back in July, and the Cleveland Guardians, who by every measure shouldn't even be in the conversation. And yet, here we are heading into the final week, and it's as tight as a drum. Look, in early July, after Detroit swept Cleveland, the Tigers were 15 and a half games up. 15 and a half at that point. Cleveland's odds of winning the division, 0.1%. That's not a typo. Not one in 1,000. Nobody was giving them a chance. Meanwhile, Detroit's 59-34, best record in baseball. You were thinking, all right, Tigers are cruising. Wrong-o. Because here's the thing, baseball is funny that way. Timing is everything, and the Guardians, they're not built like a powerhouse. Jose Ramirez is your big star. Steven Kwan's having a solid season. And outside of that, this is a team that doesn't hit a ton of homers, but doesn't have their high-priced bullpen pieces. And traded Shane Bieber at the deadline. Closer. Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz sidelined by a league investigation. They just rolled the dice with what they had, and somehow it worked. Since August, they've had the lowest ERA in the majors. The bullpen has been lights out, 2.64 ERA over a 20-6 stretch. Logan Allen, Parker Meskick, the young arms, they've stepped up. Stephen Vogt and Carl Willis have done a masterful job juggling that rotation. It's an unbelievable run. Meanwhile, Detroit, forget about it. The wheels are coming off. Their offense, which looked like a juggernaut, is a shadow of itself. Baez, McKinstry, Green, all struggling. Pitching, not much better. Charlie Morton came in hot off a trade, got shelled, released. Jack Flaherty can't find a groove. 6 losses in a row heading into this Cleveland series. The Tigers are in full-on panic mode, and I'm telling you, the vibe in Detroit is ugly. So now we're setting up this 3-game series in Cleveland, which could very well decide the division. Guardians lead the season series 6-4. It's been a tale of two extremes of the greatest comeback in the AL Central, or one of the all-time collapses. History is full of them. 1951 Giants, 1964 Phillies, 1978 Yankees, Red Sox, 1995 the Mariners, 2007 Mets, 2011 Red Sox, Rays. This 2025 race belongs in that conversation, and it doesn't matter how Detroit got here. It doesn't matter how Cleveland got here. What matters is that both teams are alive, and one team is going to have heartbreak. If Detroit misses the playoffs entirely, this goes down as one of the all-time collapses, from the best record in baseball to missing out completely. But if they squeak in as a wild card, nobody will remember the collapse. They'll just remember the playoff run. So buckle up, because it is going to be a mad dash to the end of the season, and it's going to have drama. It's going to have heartbreak. It's going to have miracles. It's going to have collapses, all wrapped up into really a week, because the wild card, I believe, starts on the 30th. So it's going to be fun. And this Tigers-Guardians ALC Central race, let's see who's getting the last laugh. I think it is going to be fun and epic. Real quick, though, we look at the baseball standings in who's clinched a spot here. Toronto has clinched a spot. The Phillies have clinched a spot, and the Dodgers have clinched a spot as well. We're still waiting, though, on the National League West. Padres are 3 games behind the Dodgers, but it's still anybody's race there. And then teams that are still in it: the Yankees, the Red Sox, Detroit, Cleveland, Kansas City, Seattle, Houston, Texas, the Mets, Miami. The Cubs have clinched a spot as well. Cincinnati and St. Louis battling it out, as well as the Padres, Arizona, and San Francisco. If the season were to happen right now, the American League would be the Yankees and the Red Sox. National League would be Cubs, Dodgers in that first spot. And then Cincinnati and the Mets. And then Cleveland and Houston in that second wild card spot. So baseball heating up, and mad dash to the end of the week. And like I said, September 30th is going to be playoff time. Here's tonight's final thought. Florida finds itself in a familiar yet uncomfortable spot. Saturday's 26-7 loss to Miami dropped Billy Napier's record to 20-22. Making him one of the worst performing mid-season coaches in Gator history. And that history isn't light reading. Charlie Pell, Galen Hall, Will Musecamp, Jim McElwain, Dan Mullen, all left Gainesville under fire or mounting pressure. Napier now has to win every remaining game just to avoid the I don't even know the word for it. I'm at a loss here. The public shame, for lack of a better phrase. Of being the next person on that list. But let's be honest. The Gators haven't just lost games, they've lost direction, identity, and belief in this program. Sometimes waiting for miracles isn't loyalty, it's denial. And Florida in 2025 might be better served cutting its losses and starting fresh. This has been the Ryder Report. Till next time, Ryder Bullock reporting. Thank you for sharing your time, and thanks again for letting me share mine. We'll try and do better next time. See you tomorrow.